Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. It was a cold October morning in Westminster, Colorado. 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway had just left her house, carrying her pink and black backpack and wearing her favorite purple glasses. She was on her usual walk to meet a friend before school, something she had done many times before. The neighborhood was peaceful, the kind of place where parents felt comfortable letting their kids walk around on their own. But this time, something went wrong. Jessica never made it to her friend's house. Somewhere along the way, she disappeared, leaving her family and community filled with worry and questions. What happened on that quiet morning would soon reveal a shocking and heartbreaking truth. Westminster, Colorado, is a quintessential suburban American community. Its neighborhoods boast spacious parks, serene lakes, sports facilities, wide streets, and charming one- or two-story homes, most without fences or walls. It was in this tranquil setting, where children played freely after school, that Jessica Ridgway was born on January 23, 2002. She was the cherished daughter of Sarah Ridgway and Jeremy Bryant. By the age of 10, Jessica was a bright and dedicated fifth-grade student at Witt Elementary School. She had a perfect attendance record and was a valued member of the junior cheerleading team. Jessica loved creating dances and writing song lyrics, showcasing her creative spirit. Her teachers adored her for her intelligence and respectful nature. Jessica enjoyed watching TV shows, playing in the snow, and caring for her beloved black and white dog. She was a vibrant young girl with blonde hair and striking blue eyes, weighing about 79 pounds. Jessica lived with her mother, grandmother, and an aunt. Her parents were divorced, and her father resided in Independence, Missouri. Like many children in the area, Jessica walked to school daily. On the chilly morning of October 5, 2012, snow blanketed the town of Westminster. After finishing her breakfast, Jessica prepared for school with her mother, Sarah, who had just returned from a night shift. Jessica wore jeans, a warm black jacket with pink stripes, black boots, and her favorite purple-framed prescription glasses. She carried a pink and black backpack decorated with designs from the popular TV series Victorious. Before heading out, Jessica called a classmate to arrange to walk together. After getting permission from her friend's father, the two planned to meet at 8:30 a.m., just a short walk from Jessica's home. From there, they would walk the remaining distance to school. However, when Jessica didn't show up, her friend's father assumed she had taken another route and drove his daughter to school instead. This was the first sign that something was amiss. At 10:10 a.m., Witt Elementary School left a voicemail for Sarah, informing her that Jessica had not arrived. Unfortunately, Sarah, exhausted from her night shift, didn't hear the message until 4 p.m. When she did, panic set in. She immediately contacted the police and began knocking on neighbors' doors, asking if anyone had seen her daughter. She even visited the school in hopes of finding answers. The following morning, October 6th, the search for Jessica began in earnest. Police, Family members, neighbors, and volunteers meticulously combed the route Jessica was expected to take to school. Despite their efforts, no trace of her was found. Authorities issued an Amber Alert, utilizing all available communication channels to spread the word about Jessica's disappearance. Purple ribbons, her favorite color, were tied to trees, poles, and fences along her presumed route to signal solidarity and hope. On October 7th, police received a call from a concerned citizen who had found a backpack on a sidewalk near Andrew Drive and Christensen Avenue, roughly 8 miles from Jessica's home. Inside the bag, officers found items identifying it as Jessica's: a water bottle with her name, her purple-framed glasses, and some wet clothing. The discovery raised more questions than answers. How had the bag ended up so far from her intended path to school? Authorities began exploring the possibility that Jessica had been abducted by someone she knew or taken by force. Forensic investigators collected DNA samples from the backpack, hoping to find a match in the FBI's National DNA Database. Analysis revealed a connection to an attempted abduction in May 2012 near the Brownfield Reservoir in Colorado. However, the identity of the suspect remained unknown, prompting further investigation by Colorado's Bureau of Investigation. Despite the chilling implications of this discovery, Jessica's parents clung to the hope that she might still be alive, possibly held captive by her abductor. However, that fragile hope was shattered on October 11th. On that day, authorities reported the discovery of human remains near an abandoned cabin approximately 10 miles from Jessica's home. Preliminary forensic analysis identified the remains as those of a young girl. The body had been dismembered with the arms, legs, head, and internal organs removed. The torso had also been washed. Investigators discovered a small cross inserted in a private area of the victim. The condition of the remains suggested the death had occurred only a few days prior. This grim discovery marked a turning point in the investigation. In the days leading up to this moment, the search for Jessica had been intense, involving not only law enforcement but also the entire community. An Amber Alert had been issued, and numerous individuals were questioned as potential suspects. Properties were searched, GPS tracking was utilized, and hundreds of interviews were conducted. Additionally, over 500 DNA samples were collected and sent to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation for analysis and comparison. Among the evidence recovered were items of clothing that belonged to Jessica. What began as a desperate search for a missing child had now tragically transformed into a manhunt for a killer. On October 17th at approximately 8 p.m., law enforcement visited a residence in Westminster. The house was home to Mindy Sigg, her 17-year-old son, Austin Sigg, and his younger brother. 2 FBI agents interviewed Mindy, but chose not to search the premises at that time. Austin Sigg was born on January 17, 1995. His childhood was marked by family instability. His parents, Mindy and Robert Sigg Jr., divorced in 2000 when Austin was only 5 years old. Robert remarried twice, but both marriages ended in divorce. He had a long history of legal troubles, including charges of domestic violence, assault, fraud, resisting arrest, and drug possession dating back to the 1980s. Austin's struggles began early in life. He had difficulties with reading, writing, and concentrating in school, prompting teachers to recommend evaluations for attention deficit disorder. Despite these challenges, Austin appeared outwardly normal. He had a girlfriend he met at a Christian youth center, and friends described him as intelligent and friendly. He enjoyed video games like Warcraft and Call of Duty, had a keen interest in psychology and forensic science, and was passionate about heavy metal music. Beneath this seemingly ordinary exterior, however, was a deeply disturbed individual. Austin had developed an addiction to violent and graphic pornography, which escalated over time. At 13, his mother discovered a significant collection of child pornography on his computer. Horrified, she sought therapy for him, and he was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder that specialists believed contributed to his compulsions. Despite being prescribed medication and therapy, his behavior worsened. Austin became adept at hiding his activities and continued to explore increasingly violent material. By the time he was a teenager, Austin's interests in forensic science and crime had taken a sinister turn. He conducted internet searches on immobilizing individuals and using chloroform, even practicing tying restraints under the guise of school projects. His fascination with control and violence began to shape his actions. On May 28, 2012, Austin attempted his first known abduction. A 22-year-old woman jogging was attacked from behind. Austin tried to subdue her with a cloth soaked in an unknown substance while dragging her into nearby bushes. The woman fought back and managed to escape, contacting the police. Though Austin fled, the failed attempt reinforced his belief that his next victim would need to be younger and more vulnerable. On the morning of October 5, 2012, Austin spotted Jessica Ridgway walking alone on her way to meet a friend before school. Sitting in his Jeep Cherokee, he watched her approach. When she was close, he opened the door, grabbed her, and forced her into the vehicle. He bound her arms and legs with nylon ties as she screamed, falsely assuring her that she would not be harmed. Driving aimlessly for a while to avoid suspicion, Austin eventually returned to his home and parked in the garage, ensuring privacy by closing the door. Austin carried Jessica upstairs to his bedroom, where he forced her to remove her clothes and take a bath. Afterward, he dressed her in a white shirt and black shorts from his wardrobe and instructed her to place her urine-soaked clothes into her backpack. Sitting Jessica on a chair, Austin began cutting her hair, attempting to calm her by showing her a movie and lying, promising she would soon be reunited with her mother. At one point, when Jessica resisted, he attempted to strangle her with plastic ties but failed. He then used his hands to strangle her, a process that took approximately 3 agonizing minutes. When Jessica showed signs of life after the attack, Austin filled a bathtub with water and submerged her face down, ensuring she could no longer breathe. After confirming she was dead, he retrieved a hacksaw and a knife from the garage and began dismembering her body. He discarded her internal organs and placed the body parts in black trash bags, temporarily hiding them in a pool shed behind his house. The investigation took a critical turn when the police released photos of the wooden cross found on Jessica's body. A friend of Austin recognized the cross as an item he often wore and contacted the FBI. This led officers to visit the Sigg residence for a second time. Despite interviewing Austin with his mother's consent, they found no cause to detain him or search the home further. By then, the effort to solve Jessica's case had become massive, involving over 1,000 individuals and 75 local, state, and federal agencies. Frustration mounted, but investigators remained determined, convinced it was only a matter of time before the killer was found. That moment came unexpectedly on the night of October 22nd, when Austin, feeling unwell, slept in his mother's bed. The following morning, he confessed to her that he had done something horrible, referring to himself as a monster and saying he needed to be punished. When Mindy asked if it had to do with Jessica, Austin admitted his guilt. At 7:30 p.m. that evening, Mindy Sigg called the Westminster Police Department, reporting that her son wanted to turn himself in for Jessica Ridgway's murder. The 911 operator was stunned by the admission. Police officers arrived at the Sigg home shortly afterward, finding Mindy sobbing as she embraced her son. Initially, they suspected a false confession, given the detailed search for an adult male suspect. However, Austin's precise and vivid account of the crime quickly convinced them that he was indeed Jessica's killer. A search of the house led to the discovery of black plastic bags in the basement. Though officers refrained from opening them until forensic experts arrived, the texture and weight suggested the bags contained human remains, including a child's skull. During evidence collection, Austin waived his rights and cooperated fully with the police, describing the abduction, murder, and dismemberment in chilling detail. He also confessed to the attempted abduction of a 22-year-old jogger earlier that year. Austin's interrogation lasted over 6 hours. He described himself as a monster driven by a sexual impulse. While initially denying sexual assault, he later admitted to it. The investigation faced a brief hurdle when initial DNA tests did not match Austin's with samples from Jessica or the jogger. This was due to an administrative error in processing his sample, which had been misplaced in an unreviewed batch. Once the oversight was discovered and retested, the results confirmed a match. The DNA from Jessica's body and the jogger's shirt aligned with Austin's. In his confession, Austin revealed that he had placed the handcrafted wooden cross on Jessica's body and made 3 small parallel marks on it. The specific details of the cross, details he could not have known unless he had placed it there, further solidified his guilt. While police did not disclose the significance of the cross or its markings to the public, Austin's admission corroborated the physical evidence. During questioning, Austin admitted that on October 5th, he went out hunting for a victim, encountering Jessica for the first time that morning. His confession brought the case to a close, uncovering a dark and deeply disturbing series of events that shocked the community and forever changed those involved. Austin admitted that he had chosen the location for the crime because he was familiar with the area, having attended Witt Elementary School as a child. He stated that from the beginning, his intent had always been to kill. By the time Jessica's mother, Sarah Ridgway, called the police on that fateful day, her daughter was already dead. On February 22, 2013, a preliminary hearing took place in court during which the horrifying details of the crime were revealed. As part of their defense strategy, Austin's legal team argued that he had endured a life filled with challenges and hardships. They referenced a fall his mother had suffered during her pregnancy, which they claimed affected his development, as well as a complicated birth that temporarily deformed his skull. They also noted that he had undergone multiple surgeries during his childhood and struggled with intestinal problems. Expert witnesses for the defense suggested that Austin's mental and emotional immaturity prevented him from fully understanding the gravity of his actions. However, prosecutors countered that his crimes were meticulously premeditated, citing the attempted abduction and Jessica's murder 4 months later as evidence of his calculated behavior. The judge dismissed the defense's arguments, stating that none of the claims could excuse the heinous nature of the crime. A clinical psychologist testified that Austin displayed behaviors consistent with necrophilic tendencies and confirmed that he had planned the crime in detail. The judge charged Austin with 18 counts related to Jessica Ridgway's murder and the assault on the jogger. 2 days before his trial was set to begin, Austin pleaded guilty to all charges. During the proceedings, as the district attorney described the details of Jessica's abduction and murder, her mother, Sarah Ridgway, left the courtroom, unable to endure the harrowing account. Defense attorneys objected to the explicit recounting of the events, arguing that the evidence was undisputed, prompting the judge to ask the prosecutor to move forward. On November 18, 2013, the sentencing phase began. Family members of the victim were given the opportunity to speak, sharing memories of the light Jessica brought into their lives and the pain caused by her brutal murder. In an emotional interview with Denver Channel, Jessica's grandmother expressed her sorrow, saying she couldn't imagine how Austin's mother could live with the fact that her son was capable of such an atrocious act. Since Austin was a minor at the time of Jessica's murder, he was ineligible for the death penalty. However, the prosecution pursued the harshest possible punishment to ensure that Austin would never be released from prison. On November 19, 2013, the judge sentenced Austin to life in prison without the possibility of parole for Jessica's murder. Before the sentence was finalized, defense attorneys argued that Colorado law required the judge to make Austin eligible for parole after serving 40 years, given that he was a minor when the crime was committed. The judge, however, rejected these arguments, stating that such a horrific case demanded a life sentence. He dismissed claims that a harsher sentence would be unconstitutional or constitute cruel and unusual punishment. Prosecutors supported the judge's position, contending that he had the authority to impose a longer sentence to reflect the gravity of the crime. Ultimately, Austin Sigg received a life sentence without parole, ensuring that he would spend the rest of his life behind bars for the brutal murder of Jessica Ridgway. Additionally, he imposed an additional 86 years for other crimes, including sexual assault of a child and charges related to the attack on the jogger. While delivering the sentence, the judge remarked that evil was indeed real and had taken form in their community on October 5, 2012, in the person of Austin Sigg. Following the sentencing, the district attorney expressed confidence that the punishment ensured Austin would never leave prison and could never again harm members of the community. Mindy Sigg, Austin's mother, broke down in tears several times as the horrific details of her son's crimes were recounted. However, as the sentence was pronounced, she looked at her son calmly. Austin chose not to address the judge before his sentencing and remained emotionless as the verdict was announced. The self-proclaimed monster, who had taken the life of a young girl with her entire future ahead of her, left the courtroom silently, shackled and under heavy guard. A year later, the Colorado Department of Corrections announced that Austin had been transferred to an undisclosed out-of-state prison to ensure his safety and privacy. According to a spokesperson, such measures are not uncommon for high-profile inmates. Jessica's mother, Sarah Ridgway, stated that Austin did not deserve to know how deeply Jessica's death had affected their family. She added that once they left the courtroom, they would forget his name forever and focus only on remembering Jessica and the legacy of love she left behind. On the first anniversary of Jessica's disappearance, the Jessica Ridgway Memorial Park was opened in Westminster. Filled with purple accents, Jessica's favorite color, the park was a community effort by the same people who had united in the search for her a year earlier. On October 15, 2017, Sarah Ridgway and her family joyfully welcomed a new member, Anna Christine, Jessica's younger sister. Anna shares Jessica's middle name and beautiful blue eyes. According to Sarah, the family was overjoyed and certain that Jessica would have adored her little sister. Both Sarah and Jessica's grandmother plan to tell Anna about her older sister when she is old enough, ensuring the memory of Jessica is passed down without fear. They are determined not to let past tragedy overshadow the love and light that now fill their lives. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.